Ma'am,
cross
no,
this.
ma'am, I think it is a yes or no question.
No, well,
If,
let me
if
answer.
there were a law that's, I'm just trying to understand your perspective, and I'm not accusing you of this.
Of course
but,
not.
But, you know, people sort of talk around this issue. If there were a bill that said that a woman has an unfettered right to abort an unborn baby for any reason up to the moment of birth, would you vote yes or would you vote no?
Senator Kennedy, I refuse to be shackled by your question. What I have answered is that there are conditions that
You don't
occur
know
during
whether you would
pregnancy.
vote yes or no?
There are conditions during pregnancy that mean after 10 weeks,
No, I said
14 weeks,
I said
20
unfettered
weeks,
discretion.
24 weeks,
You
conditions
would
such as Ms.
support.
Zarowski.
You're here
and
advocating.
I would support her life.
I
I would
understand,
support her
too,
personhood.
But you're advocating a law.
I support her
You're
personhood.
advocating a law that says that an unborn baby can be aborted up to the moment of birth for any reason. Are you not?
Let me clarify what the 14th Amendment says in the first sentence, that citizens of this United States are individuals that are born. That is what our Constitution says.
But why won't you answer my question, Professor? I'm not trying to argue. I just want to understand what your position is, and I think you're afraid to say that you do support that. If you do support it, I think you, just for the purpose of an intellectual discussion, you ought to just say so.
For purposes of an intellectual discussion, I'm happy.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. Professor Goodwin, help me understand your point of view. I think this is a yes or no question. Do you support it being legal to abort an unborn child up to the moment of birth?
Senator Kennedy, it is not a yes or no question. I support women like Ms. Zarowski. Women across this.
No, ma'am, I don't. I think it is a yes or no question.
No, well,
If,
let me
if
answer.
there were a law that's, I'm just trying to understand your perspective, and I'm not accusing you of this.
Of course
but,
not.
But, you know, people sort of talk around this issue. If there were a bill that said that a woman has an unfettered right to abort an unborn baby for any reason up to the moment of birth, would you vote yes or would you vote no?
Senator Kennedy, I refuse to be shackled by your question. What I have answered is that there are conditions that occur
You don't know
during
whether you would
pregnancy.
vote yes or no?
There are conditions during pregnancy that mean after 10 weeks,
No, I said
14 weeks,
I said
20
unfettered
weeks,
discretion.
24 weeks,
You
conditions
would
such as Ms.
support.
Zarowski.
You're here
and
advocating.
I would support her life.
I
I would
understand,
support her
too,
personhood.
But you're advocating a law.
I support her personhood.
You're advocating a law that says that an unborn baby can be aborted up to the moment of birth for any reason. Are you not?
Let me clarify what the 14th Amendment says in the first sentence, that citizens of this United States are individuals that are born. That is what our Constitution says.
But why won't you answer my question, Professor? I'm not trying to argue. I just want to understand what your position is, and I think you're afraid to say that you do support that. If you do support it, I think you, just for the purpose of an intellectual discussion, you ought to just say so.
For purposes of an intellectual discussion, I'm happy to have that with you. But
Well,
that's
then,
not the tone.
could you answer my question? Do you support, please? I mean, you teach. Okay, I'm sure you've had students ask this question. Do you support making it legal to abort an unborn baby for any reason, up to the moment before birth?
Senator, let's have that intellectual discussion that you want.
We could start if you'd answer my question. I can't go to my next question until you answer that question.
I want you to be able to go to your second
good.
and your third
Answer it for
questions.
me.
I do. But as I have explained, there are many different conditions.
No, I said
during
unfettered
a
discretion, no conditions. I'm making it easy for you.
Well, I've already shared with you, Senator, that I
I get
support
it.
women's
I don't want to use all
personhood.
my time. You're not going
And
to
I
answer
support
it,
Ms.
and that is your
Zarowski's
right. But I
personhood.
would respect you more if you just say, here's
I'm
my
sorry
answer.
that you don't respect
I
me
do
very
respect
much.
you, but I said I'd respect you more if you just answer my question. Doctor, tell me how to say your last name. Ms. Dr. Rubenhorst, do you support a law that would allow, for any reason, unfettered discretion, the abortion of an unborn child up until the moment of birth?
No.
You don't. Dr. Verma?
Senator Kennedy, so I'm the one doctor in this room that does provide abortion care, and I can tell you that does not reflect the reality of
No,
abortion
I
care.
understand. I'm just asking a question.
It simply doesn't
But do you
happen.
support it? There are bills before Congress that will allow that to happen. You don't support it, or are you going to be not answer my question?
As the doctor in this room who does provide abortion care, that is not how abortion care in this country works. It's a hypothetical that does a disservice
But if a
to our
patient came to you
patient.
and said, I'm going to probably have a baby this week and I've changed my mind, and I would like you, doctor, to abort the child, would you do it?
That is not how abortion care in
But
this
if,
country
but if
works.
a patient did, would you do it?
My job as a doctor is to look at each individual situation.
I mean,
but
I'm
have
sorry, I don't
never-
mean to be rude, but I can tell neither you nor the professor will answer my question.
I
And
have
I think
nev-
you both have an opinion, and I don't understand why you won't share it.
I have
We're going to solve this
provided-
problem.
I've
Doctor-
provided care for a
Doctor,
few
how
years,
about
and
you?
I've never
Could you-
seen that situation.
How about you, Doc? Would you?
I do not support unfettered abortion, and I would like to point out that if a woman did have a life-threatening condition in pregnancy past approximately 22 weeks, that baby can be delivered alive by induction or C-section, and we can try to save that baby. The intent of abortion is a dead baby, and that is not necessary in that situation.
I mean, I want you to all understand where I'm coming from. This is a tough issue. And it's a tough issue because there's some tough questions we've got to answer. And when you won't answer the questions, when you're invited by my Democratic friends, the majority, and you won't answer the most fundamental question, we've got a bill in front of us that will basically say a woman has the unfettered right to abort at any time for any reason up to the moment of birth. And that's a gut check issue. And I would expect you as experts to answer that truthfully, how you do it. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Ossoff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of the witnesses for joining us and sharing your experiences and perspective. It's been tremendously impactful to hear from you. And Mr. Chairman, I do want to note and acknowledge that we have a Georgia physician with us, and Dr. Verma. Thank you for your work providing health care for Georgia women at a time.
And that right there, when John Kennedy tried to force the witnesses, force the professors, force the doctor into his artificially binary, artificially reductive, intentionally inflammatory, up to the moment of birth frame, that moment is the moment this hearing will be replayed for the next 10 years in political history classrooms, because this was not an attempt to understand medical reality. This was not an attempt to understand constitutional law. This was the weaponization of hypotheticals in order to impose moral performance, in order to trap them into a viral clip. Kennedy wasn't seeking truth. He was seeking surrender. He was trying to assert that if you will not submit to his frame, his rhetorical yes-no forced constraint, you are hiding something. That silence is guilt. That nuance is evasion. That complexity is conspiracy. This is one of the most dangerous modern patterns in American politics. It turns epistemology itself, the nature of knowing and describing reality, into a culture war weapon. The professor tried to articulate, correctly, that pregnancy is not a single static moral object, and the law, the Constitution, and the lived material reality of medicine cannot be boiled down to a single yes-no demanded by a senator who refuses to acknowledge the real complexity, the real tragedy, the real-life circumstances of women like Miss Zyrowski across the country. This is not neutral political disagreement. This is shaping reality through coercive narrative force. Kennedy was not asking because he cared about the answer. He was asking because he needed the clip. He needed the aha gotcha frame, the moment where Democrats look like they endorse something monstrous, even though the actual medical reality, the actual legal reality, the actual statistical reality shows that these late-term cases overwhelmingly involve catastrophic fetal anomaly, lethal prognosis, fatal maternal risk, non-viability, emergency medical intervention, not casual elective convenience. He knows that. But our political incentive infrastructure is now built on constructing fear, using the rarest extreme outlier cases, and treating them as if they are the norm. That is how politics manufactures moral panic. That is how the public gets manipulated. That is how authoritarian moral certainty grows, not by debate, but by forcing witnesses into impossible binary traps on camera. The witnesses resisted because they were refusing to allow reproductive reality to be flattened into a culture war punchline. And that is what this hearing exposed with terrifying clarity. America is now struggling over who gets to define what reality is. Doctors see human lives in front of them. Senators see leverage. Doctors see nuance. Senators see viral content. Doctors see individual patients with individual trauma and individual biological constraints. Senators see ideological theater. This is the widening epistemic fracture inside government. This is the crisis point where medicine and democracy collide. And make no mistake, this matters for the future of law, because whoever controls the language controls the law. Whoever defines the premise defines the policy. Whoever gets the public to believe their fictional hypotheticals as fact will write the statute. Kennedy is not stupid. He knows the power of the frame. He knows that if the frame is accepted, the argument is already won before the debate even begins. This is the new battlefield. This is the new front. Not simply abortion itself, but control over how abortion can be talked about. Control over whether complexity is allowed. Control over whether nuance is permitted. Control over whether the witness is allowed to answer in their own words, or must answer only within the senator's boxed-in caricature scenario. This is the authoritarian grammar of politics. This is how democracies slide into forced epistemological obedience. This is why so many people feel like the country is being gaslit into simplicity, even when the trauma is real and complex. Because this is not just a policy fight. This is a fight over who gets to define what the truth is. Today you saw women experts in law and medicine being treated as if nuance itself was evidence of guilt. And that will be the historical takeaway, because this is the beginning of a long season of hearings where abortion will be used not as a legal question, but as a moral test of loyalty, where complexity will be treated as cowardice, where experts will be punished for telling the truth in full. This is the moment where the Senate is no longer asking questions to learn. It is asking questions to force confession. If America is going to stay democratic, the country must understand this shift. We cannot allow forced binary framing to become the language of governance. We cannot allow fear propaganda to write the rules of women's bodily autonomy. We cannot allow politicians to define medical emergency scenarios through fictional rhetorical hypotheticals while doctors are silenced on the real world. We cannot allow epistemic violence to replace factual reality, because the future of freedom depends on the public refusing to let politicians convert pain into content. This moment is the warning. This moment is the inflection. This moment is how history later explains how rights were lost, not suddenly, but step by step, clip by clip, binary by binary, until nuance itself became illegal. Do not look away. Do not surrender complexity. Do not allow forced certainty to win. This is liberal line. Support our work. subscribe.